Hi everyone, Sean here. If you're new to this channel, I talk about all things guitar and drum related, and in this video I'm talking about guitars. I'm talking about new releases too. I'm talking about the new LTD lineup for 2020, well, at least part of the new LTD lineup for 2020, some new Chicago Music Exchange Gibsons, some Fender Ultra discussion, and we're going to talk about the Fender Tone Master that everyone's talking about. Because we live in the internet age, I feel like guitar and amp manufacturers have been a little bit looser with the release timelines than in the past. Of course, some manufacturers like to wait until winter NAMM to release all of their new products, but now I know that throughout the year, there's just product releases everywhere because of social media. Even at this point, a lot of pedal companies just release pedals throughout the year, then they just give out pedals to a lot of influencers and manufacturers who happen to have social media, Instagram, and YouTube, and that's just the release in itself. They just have demos. You see some companies release things during the summer, so maybe it coincides with summer NAMM, and you see a lot of companies release stuff right before the holidays. It's like how the Fender Ultra came out a few weeks before Black Friday. I guarantee you that you're going to be seeing one of these Reverb 15% off sales that happen every month, and you're going to be able to get a Fender Ultra guitar if you want one for 15% off. Because that is really the underpinning behind these Reverb 15% off sales anyway, it's just to move new inventory. Either way, let's get into talking about some new gear because that's why you clicked on this video. So we have the partial release of the new LTD lineup for 2020, and holy moly do these guitars look incredible. LTD has a soft spot within my heart because my first electric guitar was an LTD F100 about 15 years ago, and that guitar looked shamelessly metal. It didn't play that great, and the pickups didn't sound excellent. I didn't realize it at the time because I was a beginner, but once I got to the point of where I realized that, then I upgraded to a Viper 1000, and I don't have that guitar anymore because I obliterated it because I drunkenly fell down that staircase right there with that guitar, and that just ended the guitar. It wasn't worth repairing. So kids, be careful with the drinking. So talking about that staircase and the Viper 1000 leads me to talking about this, the reintroduction of the Viper 1000. Ooh! Look at that quilted maple top. And that finish, that looks beautiful. One of the best parts about looking at new LTD guitars is that you know they're going to be a little under $1,000 new. And within several months, depending on the condition and the reseller, that guitar is going to come down to $700 or $500. A few more of the guitars that stand out to me are an EC1000 and a Blue Natural Fade. I think this one will be a little bit polarizing because I've already seen other YouTubers call it a coastline, and I guess they're not wrong, but I still think it's really cool. As someone who lives a 3 to 5 minute walk away from the ocean in California, I appreciate it. And then we have the last guitar that really stands out to me in this release, and that is the reintroduction of the LTD Phoenix 1000. I really love the LTD Phoenix and the Viper guitars because they kind of go in line with LTD's philosophy of avoiding Gibson lawsuits by adding functionality to the guitars. So for example, on the Viper, what they do is that they make it a little bit offset so they can take the strap button and move it onto the upper horn, and that eliminates a lot of the neck dive. And then you have the LTD Phoenix where they carve out a little bit on the bottom wing so you have access to the higher frets. I love how shameless it is, and LTD, I'm a fan. And now on to Gibson. We have a few new finishes that have been released by Gibson for the Junior and the Special Double Cut, and that's exclusively through the Chicago Music Exchange. And that model name's just kind of a word and letter salad, to be honest with you. Try saying it fast 3 times. I'm not going to do it. You do it. So we have the new finishes in a Worn TV Yellow and a Worn TV White. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, the TV Yellow looks way cooler than the TV White, mostly because I can't really see most of the TV White because it's a white guitar. And what the Chicago Music Exchange did when they were taking the photos is they had a white background. So effectively, if you just look at it really quickly, like I'm doing right here, you basically see strings, the bridge, the pickup and the pick guard, and the neck, but you really can't see too well where the guitar ends, and you can't really get a good close-up on it because there's no contrast. They should have used a different background in the stock photos, but to be honest with you, will it really matter because these are going to sell out anyway. I'm surprised they didn't release the TV Yellow ones in the normal range because think about how much they would have sold. Because you know there's just going to be less of the limited edition model or the Chicago Music Exchange model than just the normal models. And I think a lot more people would want to buy this TV Yellow over, say, Worn Cherry. I think that's what it's called. Which one would you rather get, the TV Yellow or the TV White one? Let me know in the comments below. And then we move on to Fender, and boy have they been active on the internet lately. Fender Ultra. yeah, that was kind of underwhelming, especially because they built it up so much. You'll never play a Fender the same way again. And then they actually released the Ultra series, and it's basically just a minor rehashing of the Elite series with noiseless pickups that are slightly different, and they eliminated that truss rod adjustment wheel that was kind of ugly but very functional. Though, speaking as someone who has played the new Fender Ultra series, because I went down to my guitar shop, which is actually pretty far away. I have to drive 45 minutes to get to a decent guitar shop where I currently live. So unreasonably, I made that drive and I made it back, and I played the new Fender Ultra series, and you know what? Pretty good guitars. I'm still not a fan of the noiseless pickups, to be honest with you. There's just still something missing there, and I know it's really nitpicky and really minor, but it's just there. But one thing that was really great, really great, was the way that the modern neck felt. That just felt so good in my hands, and that's really important to me because I'm really sensitive to neck changes. Like, for example, I can't just pick up a 60s slim neck, then immediately go to a 50s fat neck. That'll just totally mess me up and get into my head. But this new Fender Ultra Modern neck, it felt really good. I don't know why I'm doing this, that looks kind of wrong. And I really like Fender's choice here with having a satin finish on the back of the neck rather than a glossy one, because the glossy ones, if you start sweating after 30 minutes of playing, you're gonna get stuck and it's gonna distract you. But with a satin net, it just keeps on gliding. And when Fender released the new Fender Ultra series, which are Stratocasters, Telecasters, and Jazzmasters, not too many stood out to me, but the two that really did were both in a Mocha Burst. And that is a Mocha Burst Jazzmaster and a Mocha Burst Telecaster. I saw them in person and they looked awesome. And it seems like other people are appreciating the Mocha Burst Jazzmaster too, because I went on Sweetwater's site and they're out of stock, so good on you, Fender. So now we're gonna talk about guitar amplifiers, and we're gonna talk about the amp that everyone's been talking about over the last few months on social media, especially YouTube, and that is the release of the Fender Tone Master Deluxe and Twin Reverb amps. And for me personally, I love Fender amplifiers. For example, I can't tell if you can see it in the background over there, but there's a 1973 Fender Twin Reverb Silverface with JBL speakers in it. And if you've never heard JBL speakers before, YouTube doesn't do these justice. You need to find someone who has JBL speakers in a Fender amplifier, especially a vintage one, and they need to play it in front of you because you'll be converted. Basically, the Fender Tone Master is a solid state version of the Deluxe Reverb and Twin Reverb, and boy do they sound excellent. I started doing blind tests between a tube version and the Fender Tone Master, and I was always trying to convince myself that the Tone Master was only 90 to 95% there, but honestly, yeah, it's just as good. The tube amp user in me is still going through that acceptance/denial progression in my brain, so just give me a moment. If it already wasn't obvious to you over the past several years that the market's slowly going to shift away from tube amplifiers into modeling and to amps like this, well, then now this really brings it front and center, because when Fender releases something like this, it really does change things because they're such an iconic company and they're basically the biggest company in the electric guitar world. Obviously, other companies have been doing this a while, but they just don't have the same market clout and influence that Fender has. And so when Fender invests a lot of R&D into this and then comes out with this, that really shows you where the market is going. And that, for me, is just super cool to see, because I believe at some point, I should just have all the guitar tones in the world on my phone. That is just a vision that I see, and I hope it goes towards that. Because let's be honest, like, think about all the other things we do on our phones already that are probably more complex than creating a guitar amplifier. I think it's about time we get there. But yeah, super cool, I love it. I can't wait for these to come down in price, because you know that some people are gonna buy them on an impulse, and then they're gonna have them for 2 months or 3 months, and then they're gonna resell them for $200 to $300 off on Reverb. That's when you should buy this. And that concludes this discussion on new gear. If you like this type of content, guitar, drum-related content, I'm a drummer that happens to play guitar, like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, everyone. God, that light is blinding. My God, I look so pale.